Now pretty well everything I do in my workshop I've basically taught myself. Although I did hear somebody say, be sure that the machine is unplugged before you do anything. But this is the way I change the cutters in my shaper. And there may be a better way of doing it. If you know of a better way of doing it, well, keep doing it. What I do is I make sure I've got the cutter head raised up as far as it'll go. Now I've already taken off the guard and moved the fence back as far as it'll go out of the way, give myself lots of room. And another thing that I kind of learned the hard way is just take these off one at a time. The reason being is if you take that shim off and can't remember which way it goes, all you have to do is look at the other one. They're a mirror image of each other, so it's pretty easy to figure out. Anyway, this is the way I do it. There, we're done. Now I have no idea when I'm ever going to use these cutters again, or at my age, if I'm ever going to use them again. So let's put a little bit of oil on there to help prevent rusting, because my workshop is in the basement, and in the summertime, well, it can get a little bit damp down here, although the air conditioner does help a little bit. However, better safe than sorry, and this sharp edge here, if it gets rust on it, it's not going to cut very good. There we go, for next time. I'm back in CorelDRAW, and because I had drawn everything to scale, I know that the bottom of the clock is going to be about 18.5 inches long and the top about 17.5 inches long. Now, as you can see, the base of the clock, or the bottom of the clock, the profiling is going to require that I have the spindle set in a bit. Otherwise they're going to sort of overlap the profiling, and that won't look good. So I better do a little sample piece here on the shaper, just so I'll know exactly how much room I need for the profiling. I've cut a piece of scrap 2x4 here, and it's about 18 inches long. It's about the same length as those pieces that I'm going to need for the top and the bottom of the clock. And you'll see here in a minute why I wish it was a piece of 2x6 and not 2x4. Now the reason I got this, and I should have known that was going to happen, is because when I was sliding it along, the 2x4 slipped in between the two fences here. And I just can't have them any closer together, otherwise the cutters are going to hit the fence. So far I'm lucky, I haven't had that happen. But anyway, the 2x6 is going to be longer, so I won't have that problem. And this scrap piece of 2x4, it served its purpose now. Now I know just how far in. Let's say this was the spindle. And I know that the spindle has to be, for sure, in this far. Otherwise it's going to be hanging over the edge. And like I said, that won't look good. But anyway, I kind of like this profiling. I think that's going to look really nice for the base. The top will be exactly the same. Yeah, that's going to be okay. Now I think I'm going to make a little change here. I'm going to lower the cutter by maybe an 1/8 of an inch. And that way this top groove here, in other words the whole thing, the whole profiling will be moved down about 1/8 of an inch. And this will be just a little bit thicker. I think it'll be a little better, being as that this clock is sort of a rather bold appearance. I don't want any little delicate lines here. I want everything to be sort of bold. Otherwise this might sort of look out of place. That's my opinion anyway. I could be wrong. I'm not an artist. Okay, we'll try that. Now here's something else I want to try. When I'm sliding this along, I generally have a tendency to push it in. And this time I'm not. I'm just going to hold it tight against the miter gauge. And just move it along, and there'll be less of a chance of it going in. Now I know there's quite a bit of vibration here, but I think if I'm careful, it might work. See what happens. Well, this did not work, and this is the reason why. The miter gauge slot is not parallel to the fence. I should have thought of that. So when I was against the outfeed, and I was moving it along, and I got to the infeed, well, as you can see, there's a gap there, about 1/8 of an inch or even more. So my little push stick, it was sort of also moved out, and then once the cutters grabbed the push stick, they caught on it, pulled it in, and that was that sort of clack or bang that you heard. Anyway, I should have thought of that. Now this shaper has always kind of reminded me of a jointer on its side. And the reason for that is because the infeed table is adjustable separately to the outfeed. And so I'm sort of thinking here, why don't I adjust this table so that it's just the same as the furthest in part of the blade here, sort of like on a jointer. And it wouldn't matter too much where this one was, as long as it wasn't too far out this way. It could be in 1/16 of an inch, and then it would sort of act just like a jointer. I'm going to try that anyway. Well, I learned two things. Yes, I can treat this sort of like a jointer, and secondly, I'm going to have to raise the cutter back up just a little because it was starting to undercut here a little bit. And I believe that piece of oak is the exact same thickness as this. Well, I know this beautiful piece of oak is maybe a little thicker. Well, maybe not. No, it's exactly the same. I notice I got a tiny bit of damage here. I'll have to take that into consideration when I'm running this thing through the shaper here. And now I know that I have to set the spindles that much in. Well, I guess that's it for episode number 12. And I know some of you are probably thinking, I waited 2 weeks for this. Well, anyway, thanks for watching.